All right, guys, ABC News' George Stephanopoulos. What an absolute coward. And by the way, the mainstream media are not just dishonest. They're not just stupid. Of course, we always say they're propagandists of the left, but George Stephanopoulos takes it even to a higher level than this. George Stephanopoulos was quite literally, now he's a host on ABC News, but he was quite literally Bill Clinton's fixer. A high-level political operative whose job it was to manipulate the minds of the American people when Bill Clinton was president. Now he's in a prominent position at ABC News. If it doesn't demonstrate the point about the mainstream media, I don't know what does. Perhaps the video I'm about to show you will. But George Stephanopoulos was interviewing Vice President JD Vance over the weekend, and he had the audacity. This is how despicable the mainstream media is. He had the audacity to cut randomly, out of the blue, awkwardly. This is definitely not how the program usually flows, and George Stephanopoulos is a pro enough to know his timing. This wasn't just an awkward transition to a commercial break. He cut to commercial break directly after JD Vance's response because Stephanopoulos didn't want to contend with what JD Vance said. They were talking about Trump's border czar, Tom Homan, and this kind of bizarre, stupid allegation that Tom Homan took $50,000 from undercover FBI agents who were trying to entrap him because they were trying to get him on taking a bribe to give certain people government contracts. Should he actually be part of the Trump administration? This was before Tom Homan was actually in the Trump administration. It's convoluted. It's weird. And we'll talk about the substance of that in a second. But this is what JD Vance's response was to Stephanopoulos when Stephanopoulos pushed him on it. And then, of course, you see what Stephanopoulos does in reaction to Vance's response. Take a look.
I don't know what tape you're referring to, George. I saw media reports that Tom Homan accepted a bribe. There's no evidence of that. And here's, George, why fewer and fewer people watch your program and why you're losing credibility. Because you're talking for now 5 minutes with the Vice President of the United States about this story regarding Tom Homan, a story that I've read about, but I don't even know the video that you're talking about. Meanwhile, low-income women can't get food because the Democrats and Chuck Schumer have shut down the government. Right now, we're trying to figure out how to pay our troops because Chuck Schumer has shut down the government. You are focused on a bogus story. You're insinuating criminal wrongdoing against a guy who has done nothing wrong instead of focusing on the fact that our country is struggling because our government's shut down. Let's talk about the real issues, George. I think the American people would benefit much more from that than from you going down some weird left-wing rabbit hole where the facts clearly show that Tom Homan didn't engage in any criminal wrongdoing.
It's not a weird left-wing rabbit hole. I didn't insinuate anything. I asked you whether Tom Homan accepted $50,000, as was heard on an audio tape recorded by the FBI in September 2024, and you did not answer the question. Thank you for your time this morning.
No, George, I said that I don't.
Up next, we'll be right back.
Oh, my. Let me just tell you, as someone who interviews high-profile people on this show from time to time, if it is even so much as a lower-level member of Congress, you do not interrupt them. It's one thing to interrupt, a quote-unquote subject matter expert or someone that you're grilling or a friend you're having a conversation with. Like, yeah, you're in the driver's seat of the show. You can kind of direct the conversation. Sometimes a strategic interruption is appropriate. It's not disrespectful if you let them make their point. That's fine. That's all about, how to judiciously pilot the conversation that you're conducting. But the rules of the road in broadcast are just a little bit different when you are interviewing an elected official. You don't actually interrupt them, especially with a commercial break. The Vice President of the United States, let me just pose it to you this way. Do you think George Stephanopoulos would have cut away from Kamala Harris while she was talking and not just speak over the top of her, but take her off the screen and turn it to a commercial break? Can you even imagine? Imagine for a second if it was even more than that. Imagine if Fox News did that, if Fox News got Kamala Harris on the show and they were interviewing her. She started saying something they don't like. And while she was speaking, they panned the camera away and cut to commercial. It would cause such an uproar in our country. Every headline on every mainstream media organization would read misogynist, right wing, Fox News silences sitting vice president who is a black woman. The outrage would be enormous. And here's the thing. Here's my actual question about this. I don't even care that much about the Tom Homan allegations because it seems to be an entrapment exercise conducted by the Biden FBI. The Biden FBI is the most corrupt FBI in the history of the FBI. And so the credibility that I give to their allegations Well, let's just say this. I am Catholic. I am a parent who is against critical race theory and transing kids and children in public school, and I'm pro-life. I was called a domestic extremist, a terrorist by Biden's FBI. So do I give a lot of credibility to any kind of allegation coming from the Biden FBI? No, I don't. No, I don't. We have a team member on this show who you are familiar with, who was personally targeted by the Biden FBI, who was awakened at the crack of dawn to FBI agents, Biden's FBI pounding on his door. They put him in handcuffs, took his laptop, took his phone, subject him to years of the processes, the punishment, threats of charging him because he investigated Ashley Biden's diary and didn't even publish it. That Biden FBI, do I give credibility to that group, that intelligence operation, law enforcement, the federal government weaponized against the American people? Yeah, I don't care at all the allegations that came from the Biden FBI. So Tom Homan was a private citizen. An FBI agent came to him with a paper bag. Here's my question. Why was the Biden FBI trying to entrap Tom Homan, which is pretty obviously what they were trying to do? They were trying to catch him because they didn't want President Trump's mass deportation program. They didn't want an effective border czar like Tom Homan is. Why were they handing him a paper bag of money if that's what they were doing when radical trans groups like the Socialist Rifle Association and the John Brown Gun Club and Armed Queers of Salt Lake City and Antifa and the Party of Socialism and Liberation and the People's Forum and the Answer Coalition and Behind Enemy Lines and that whole ecosphere of radical leftist groups that are coordinating to commit violent acts against us, conservatives, and against our country, the United States of America? Why is the FBI, why do they care about Tom Homan and some dumb paper bag of money? When these groups, motivated openly by communist ideology, funded by an American communist who's hiding out in Shanghai, doing the bidding of the Chinese Communist Party, is happening under their noses. That's the question that I have as a result of this. But of course, George Stephanopoulos, Bill Clinton's White House communications director, he was later the senior advisor to the president. That's just a fancy word for the fixer. He doesn't want any of that exposed, does he? He doesn't want to contend with JD Vance. And by the way, the reason that at the time Senator JD Vance was selected to be Donald Trump's vice presidential running mate is because of clips like this. Because he's so calmly, without any adrenaline, without any increase in energy, just brutally, savagely, and oh so politely dismantles everything that the left does to lie to you. It's my favorite version of JD Vance, my absolute favorite version. And of course, he did what he's been doing for the last, since he came onto the public stage. He's exposing the left for exactly who they are. And right now, the left has embraced evil. They are permitting evil. They are complicit in evil. And that includes mainstream media, who run the propaganda arm of the Democratic Party, which right now is but a conglomeration of these leftist groups who are trying to kill us.